both to the programme. Now we're going to get straight on here with the issue of the it's not passed Parliament yet, but certainly it has been announced, the ban on public body boycotts. So what's this all about? Well, what they're saying is that UK public bodies are going to be banned from imposing their own boycotts or divestment campaigns against foreign countries and territories. Now, of course, they're not talking about foreign countries and territories, they're talking about Israel here. So let's just bring the legislation itself on screen. This is the Economic Activity of Public Bodies (Overseas Matters) Bill. It was introduced into Parliament on Monday by Michael Gove. More on that in a second. And what they're saying is that the Economic Activity of Public Bodies (Overseas Matters) Bill sends a clear message to councils and other publicly funded institutions that they need to focus on delivering for the public and not spending taxpayers' money pursuing their own foreign policy agenda. Those who break the rules will face significant fines, with ministers amongst those able to conduct investigations and suspected breaches. The bill will stop businesses and organisations, including those affiliated with Israel, from being targeted through ongoing boycotts by public bodies, but also by private companies that are providing a public service. So here's Michael Gove. This is what he had to say. It's simply wrong that public bodies have been wasting taxpayers' time and money pursuing their own foreign policy agenda. The UK must have a consistent approach to foreign policy set by UK government. These campaigns not only undermine the UK's foreign policy, but lead to appalling anti-Semitic rhetoric and abuse. That's why we've taken this decisive action to stop these disruptive policies once and for all. So, Alex, maybe I could welcome you to the programme here and ask, first of all, is this individual foreign policy a separate foreign policy from what the UK is doing, or is this just local authorities and others wanting to make it clear how they feel about the Palestinian issue?
It could very much be the latter, Mike. The term public bodies is very broad in UK law, and it encompasses the organisations set up by government ministries at arm's length as agencies, but also anyone governed by public law, anyone who's thought to be operating under public law. And these bodies are supposed to have legal advisors in-house, and they do, who tell them individually what their duties before the law are. Ultimately, this is His Majesty's government telling these public bodies that since they are creatures of statute, therefore, here's the false syllogism coming in, therefore they don't have their own conscience or interpretation of the law. Some may find, with arguable validity, that they're obliged not to do business with a certain regime, such as Israel, depending on their interpretation of how Israel may be breaching international law. And as you said in the introductory segment there, it will be partly or largely ministers as the legal creators of these bodies, as it were, who are responsible for them, who are judge and jury in this. This is pure administrative law. It looks like it won't get near the courts.
Well, indeed. And my question then is, if they're saying that they're being very clear about this, that it doesn't apply to private companies or individuals. But my question then is, if those private companies are doing business with government in some way, are we going to see some effort to nudge them into following the same kind of policy? I suspect, in other words, would they be effectively sanctioned from accessing government contracts? But just to finish this off, Alex, we shouldn't forget that Michael Gove, the Times of Israel here was labelling him a pro-Israel UK Tory leadership candidate. Let's just zoom in on this, the most pro-Israel candidate. This was, of course, they were talking about this when the replacement for Theresa May was being looked for. But Alex, Michael Gove has a history of taking a very strong pro-Israel line, so it's perhaps not surprising that he is leading this.
Yes, there is a whole wing of the Conservative Party, not to overlook, for example, the presence of Labour Friends of Israel, but there is a particular wing of the Conservative Party, vaguely the right wing, or what they now call National Conservative Wing, which is extremely pro-Israel. There are even rumblings that certain prominent conservatives, Priti Patel has been mentioned, who's been spotted doing some unannounced touring of the West Bank, could break off, potentially even with Nigel Farage, former leader of UKIP, though I doubt that, and form a new party, such as the level of disgruntlement. It seems to be a totally visceral issue for half of the Conservative Party that loyalty to Israel goes first. And if Brian were with us today, I think he would remind us of a David Cameron quotation to that effect.
Indeed. Okay, let's move on.